Joe Espada had some pitching updates on the arms. First, says Justin Verlander is apparently progressing along nicely. And Espada won't speculate that JV will be ready for opening day, but I thought it was interesting that he's not ruling out that possibility as well. JP France does not seem to be as close as he's rehabbing back from that inflammation. And then Forrest Whitley, temporarily shut down from throwing after experiencing middle finger inflammation. He supposedly it's subsiding. On our last update, we heard, which I too also suffer from middle finger inflammation as I'm driving down Westheimer often. I'm as surprised as JV's progress as much as I am, unfortunately, unsurprised at Forrest Whitley's setback. That poor kid cannot catch a break. What are your takeaways from Espada's update, and were there any other pitching updates that caught your eye over the past couple of days?
Well, the head and shoulders important one is Verlander. You're basically a month out from opening day, so unless it's 100%, no chance that JV answers the bell March 28th. I guess why throw the wet blanket on it if you're Joe Espada? But I will. You're over a week, about 2 weeks from when pitchers and catchers reported. You're going through a full rotation of pitchers through Tuesday when Urquidy gets his first spring start. And why push it? I mean, even if Verlander was within one opening day start of tying or breaking the all-time record for opening day starts, this is about the 2024 Houston Astros. And Verlander, now 41 years of age. My benchmarks for him would be 25 starts, 150 innings. So if he's a couple of weeks late making start number one, it's all about the long game for the Astros, unless you think it's jeopardizing making the playoffs by Verlander not pitching before April 2nd or 3rd, as opposed to April 15th, 16th. I'll be shocked if he is on the mound against the Yankees.
I will be too. Verlander talked to Chandler Rome, some of these guys this week. He's only throwing fastballs and changeups off the mound right now. He's starting to spin the slider, he said, a little bit from flat ground, but he's not even working on that in the bullpen yet. So I'd be surprised if he's ready to go that first game of the season, which is fine. You got Fromber, you have other guys. It's a long season. That should not be the worry right now. The other thing I thought was really interesting was the article Chandler Rome had about Bill Murphy going and visiting Christian Javier and Framber Valdez in the Dominican Republic. And, we've heard about Christian Javier's weight loss. He's trying to get his mechanics back. He's in better shape now. That should help. So they expect big things from him. But the thing that really surprised me was about Framber's sinker, and that's what they're really working on, trying to get back to form. Framber's trying to get his sinker back. And we've all seen Framber starting to average like 95 miles an hour on the sinker. Maybe he's throwing it a little bit too hard. I don't know, but I do know this. This is in Chandler Rome's article. This really surprised me. His sinker generated just 54% ground ball rates last year. That was down from about 69% in 2022 and 75% in 2021. That is a huge drop off there for Framber. So we all know about the great curveball. If he can get that sinker back, get those double plays happening again, shorten his pitch count and innings because he's throwing more ground balls, getting outs quicker, I think that'll be huge for the Astros this year.
Yeah, if we remember back to the steroid era, the one commercial, it didn't become the baseball slogan, but chicks dig the long ball. If you're a pitcher, you peek around and you see that radar gun, you probably feel a little more manly if you're hitting 94, 95 than 92, 93. Yep. So whether Framber fell a little bit in love with, wow, look where I can get it on the radar gun. And we talked about this some during last season as Framber's season deteriorated. It's a simple law of gravity, right? If you are relying on the sinking action, the harder you throw it, the more quickly it's getting to the catcher. We're talking milliseconds. It's a game of milliseconds from when the ball leaves the pitcher's hand to the hitter having to react to it and so forth. Well, the harder you throw it, the quicker it gets to the catcher, the less time it has to drop. So a couple of miles per hour difference there can be a real difference. And Josh hit the numbers. Framber was the number one ground ball inducing starting pitcher in the game for 2 years and kind of became just another guy in that category, certainly as it unraveled over the course of 2023. And on Christian Javier, certainly encouraging news to hear. But I hope no one is, hey, good job, Christian, losing that weight. How about bad job, Christian, after getting $64 million, getting a little, literally, fat and happy? I don't know if Fromber put on the weight too, but a little bit here, a little bit there, difference making in the 2023 Astros season. I'm not saying cause effect. If Christian Javier had been 15 pounds lighter, he doesn't get shellacked in game 7, first inning against the Rangers, but it could have gone any worse. So if those guys are fit and healthy in between and make 60 starts, if not as good as both were in 2022, markedly better than they were by the end of 2023, well, then we know the Astros are playing in yet another postseason.
There's a lot of starting pitchers on this staff. We haven't even mentioned Urquidy or Ronel Blanco. So there's a lot of possibilities here. Do you guys foresee it being an issue of where do these guys, fitting these guys into the rotation? Where all these guys pitch? Or do you foresee it being more likely an issue of trying to lock down who your most reliable guys are in this lineup and making sure you have, look, we know Verlander, Fromber, and Christian Javier are your main three. If those guys are back to form, your playoff outlook looks a lot better. But you've got the possibility of seeing Garcia back this season as well. So do we think it's more likely of, man, we've got this sloth of pitching and we don't know where to put them all? Or is it a matter of, more importance of having backfill for maybe some of these guys not being able to return to form?
I think nature's going to take its course on this. I mean, Garcia, you're not projecting him back until maybe the All-Star break. McCullers, I mean, when do you project him back? At some point, maybe after the All-Star break, and then start the clock on his next injury. I think there will also be qualitative components with this. JP France was a revelation, faded late. I wouldn't expect him to give you 27 starts with an ERA of 3.20. He might be a guy you're looking to replace, counting the days to when Garcia and McCullers, one or the other at least, gets back. And Garcia is the guy, should be a normal timeline of Tommy John recovery, whereas with McCullers has been one different injury after another. The trajectory for Hunter Brown, he did not belong in a Major League Baseball pitching rotation, certainly not that of a really good team. From May 1st on, he was terrible. Right? We know he has the raw tools. What kind of progress does he make? Or is he a guy that you're saying, okay, bullpen time for him? Urquidy, much injury delayed, and then pitched to an ERA over 5 last season. So I don't think it's an embarrassment of riches, but they do seem to have enough bets covered on the roulette wheel that the rotation you wouldn't think should be something that falls apart unless, as you alluded to, Brandon, the top end guys, Verlander, Fromber, Javier, really hit the skids.
Yeah, that's why so much of this to me is on Fromber and Javier this year. If those guys are right, that's going to make a huge difference because, pending health, I think Verlander will be Verlander. I think it's kind of what Charlie alluded to. It's who performs the best. Urquidy had an ERA over 5. Hunter Brown had an ERA over 5. JP France had never done it before until last year and then kind of struggled towards the end. So I think it's whoever's pitching the best at the time is going to get the ball. Obviously, Hunter Brown, they're going to give him all the chances in the world because you see the talent. He's young. They're going to give him a lot of opportunities. But I thought it was interesting. Jim Crane talked about the pitching staff and said, we have like 8 starters, when McCullers gets back. So, and with hopefully Garcia. So they have a lot of guys. And if that does happen and they return, Crane was kind of like, hey, we'll just kind of backfill those other bullpen spots because we have so many starting pitchers. But that depends. Who knows how these guys are pitching come July? We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know if Hunter Brown's pitching well or not, or if they have to go to Spencer Arrighetti or somebody like that. I did find it very interesting that Dana Brown said that they're going to keep Blanco stretched out as a starter just to have some depth. So I was kind of thinking he might be a guy to compete with Montero for the, 6th inning, maybe just a regular middle relief role, but they're going to keep him stretched out, which is not a terrible idea. Guys get banged up, especially this time of year, trying to get stretched out. So we'll see. They had Blanco in that role last year. Looks like they're going to keep him there to where he can come in and give you 3, 4, 5 innings in a pinch.
Yeah, and while you're marking time waiting on Luis Garcia and or Lance McCullers getting back, law of averages, right? The 6 guys they have aren't going to all stay healthy until Garcia and or McCullers gets back. So whether it's Blanco, whether it's Arrighetti, and maybe someone really explodes at AA or AAA beyond Arrighetti. But it's a generally still position of strength, especially when you look at the back three in the bullpen and a lineup that should be one of the more potent ones in the game again.
Yeah, and Josh, you mentioned Arrighetti. Dana Brown kind of alluded to they might look to lean on him this year a little bit. So we'll see how we're going to watch that pretty closely. I think for a team that has had 7 straight ALCS appearances and is such a veteran team and a good team, there's a lot of opportunities for pitchers to kind of carve out a place for themselves, whether it is a Blanco or a France or even an Arrighetti, perhaps, maybe a Forrest Whitley if he can stay healthy. There is some opportunity for a guy to carve out a place for himself on this team and on this pitching staff, which I think should be motivation for these guys.